Yes, well, thanks for coming and just listening to the beginning of this particular video clip. We are going to show you some more photographs of what happened on the Somerset levels back in January, February 2014. Obviously, there was a lot of rain that fell over a period of 10 weeks or so. A lot of flooding in various parts of the country, but certainly the Somerset levels seem to be the worst hit. Actually, we've come back today to record a little bit more of Joseph of Arimathea coming to these shores, or this particular part of the country, as we call it, Britain. And Peter's going to read out some information that is openly available in these parts if you go to the particular churches that are shown. It's an incredible time that we're living in, and of course, going back to the weather situ again, you may like to check out H.A.A.R.P, H.A.A.R.P. What is H.A.A.R.P? And put that in Google or Bing, and you may be surprised what's actually going on, because it does seem that there's technology out there that's affecting the weather. We've even had reports in America of the snow that's fallen not melting. Again, you best come into our main site at KCTV Media and look at the headers, and you'll see the story that we've opened up here. Anyway, we want to thank you, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this information given by Peter and myself.
This is our very special visit to the Church of St. Lawrence, Priddy. Welcome to our church, as I read from the special notice, dedicated in 1352, which has an earlier 13th century tower. There are Bronze Age barrows to the north and southwest close to the churchyard, so this must be a very ancient and sacred ground. There is a legend that Jesus himself came to Priddy on a trading exhibition with Joseph of Arimathea. And the hymn Jerusalem has a special meaning here. We know there were local mines from which lead was sent to the Roman Empire. 2 roads from Priddy were named Pilton Drove and Axbridge Street, and led to small ports. But the main body of the church, the nave, was a Victorian pine roof, often timbered with arch braces and collars. Wall posts are supported on medieval carved stone corbel heads. It was during 1896 that the plain oak benches were replaced by these pine pews. Mr. Henry John Rossiter has a plaque recording that it was given by him. Beside it is a Jacobean chest which once held all the parish records. The stained glass window nearby was given by Mr. and Mrs. Ivor Gibbons in memory of their daughter Catherine, who sadly died later in her home, having first attended a London hospital. So, beloved, we're in a very sacred place today that dates back to 1352 with an additional tower back to the 13th century. The reason why we are interested in this wonderful old church is because it follows a series of divine encounters that I was privileged to have. I shall always remember a certain spring morning 12 years ago and more. I had slept heavily, and just after 4 a.m. I was half awakened by a voice. The words barely penetrated my semi-conscious mind. "You will find the holy chalice," said the voice. So in a dreamlike state, I reflected upon this mysterious intrusion. I was rather bemused. I knew no reason why I should be interested in finding the holy chalice. It was a subject that had never seriously crossed my mind. While these wandering thoughts engaged my sleepy brain, the voice spoke a second time. "You will find the holy chalice." This time I was wide awake. I sat up in bed, expecting to find someone in the room. The voice had been so loud and clear. Suddenly it came to my mind how God had spoken to me twice on previous circumstances, and therefore the first when I was converted to Christ following a serious illness, and later when I received my mission call to preach in West Africa. An awesome fear overtook me. I knew beyond doubt that God was communicating with me. With a trembling voice I whispered, "Lord, are you speaking to me?" Within seconds I heard the instruction again. "You will find the holy chalice." I recall in scriptures how sometimes God would speak. Twice, 3 times. You find this particularly in the 3rd chapter of the Gospel of John. "Ye must be born again, ye must be born again, ye must be born again to enter into the kingdom of God." By now I was beside myself with joy and wonder. I noted the time. It's just gone 4 o'clock in the morning. Yes, the timing was perfect. Let me explain. Sometime previously I had suggested to the Lord that if ever he desired to make known to me some important matter, he would kindly visit me between the hours of 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. God had graciously responded accordingly. Excitedly I lay in bed with 1,001 thoughts quickly parading through my mind. Sometimes I smiled with curiosity. Sometimes I was overcome by the awesome responsibility placed upon me. I recalled how King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table had spent a lifetime searching for the Holy Grail. Steve Spielberg's film also came back to my mind. What adventures now lay before me, I wondered. I had arranged to visit North Wales that very day, intending to leave around 7 a.m. in the morning. Half an hour before my departure, the telephone demanded my attention. It was an associate from Lincoln, a friend of mine called Eric, who had originated from the continent, from France. Imagine my astonishment when he inquired if I had considered investigating the history of the Holy Chalice. I was astounded. Out of this unexpected conversation, I gleaned one outstanding piece of information, a name, Strata, Florida. My friend had discovered from an antiquated book that a sacred relic had been rescued by a group of dedicated monks who had fled from Glastonbury to Strata, Florida. This person apparently appealed to me. So I began to do a further study. I had no idea where Strata, Florida was, but guessed because I had connections in Florida, it must be in America. So I began to study the whole process of investigation into this very special situation. The existence of the Nantes cup has been known for 450 years. Presuming this cup to be the original chalice brought by Joseph of Arimathea to Britain around AD 37. What of the intervening years until the year AD 1550? There is no record of the Nantes cup during that period. One of two possibilities arise from this. Either the Nantes cup is a recent innovation and simply has no connection with Joseph of Arimathea or the chalice. So there's a possibility it was actually secretly taken away for over 1,000 years because of its most sacred origin. I've carefully considered many aspects of this all-important question, diligently searching ancient records that might throw any light on the subject. One document stated that the locations of treasured antique objects were known only to two monks at any one time. They would carefully guard their secret during their lifetime. And then when one of the monks, nearing the end of his life, the secret would be shared with another who would solemnly vow to guard that secret. By this means, the hiding place of the sacred items, secreted away, would be safe for generations. The next question arising in my mind is also of profound interest. What, during these intervening years, was the chalice and where would it have been hidden? Again, I devoted much time and thought to this. Why is the well at Glastonbury to this very day called the Chalice Well? It is obvious from its title the well must have had some connection with the chalice in times past. A recent survey suggests that the well was uniquely constructed, probably by masons from the Middle East. The stories we all perfectly fitted together to make a watertight situation without need of any binding materials. The well would therefore have been an ideal location to hide the sacred chalice that we now call, to this day, the Chalice Well. Furthermore, when Henry VIII's soldiers decided to demolish the abbey, the chalice would have been lost forever. So, for the fear of an invading army finding the well, how important it was that the secret of its location should be kept. Although these suggestions are speculative, nevertheless they seem feasible. One thing is certain, however, no one has been able to produce another ancient chalice comparable with the amazing healing properties of the Nantes cup. The present guardian of Nantes cup proved most helpful and obliging, producing authentic documents dating from Henry II's reign, enabling me to trace the exact movings of the chalice during the last 450 years. Its origin resting place was the Glastonbury Abbey. During Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries, Glastonbury was the target for demolition. A residing prior, accompanied by 6 monks, fled from the abbey to Osselworth in South Gloucestershire. When Henry's hitman marched back to the west, the same company of monks headed in advance of Henry's men to Whitland, then on to St Dogmills near Cardigan, and finally to Strata, Florida, where in mid-Wales. During their historic flight, they took with them the sacred vessel, which we now call the Nantius Cup. When Henry's soldiers reached Strata, Florida, the monks took flight once again, this time heading for Aberystwyth on the Welsh coast. En route, they were warmly received by the Powell family residing at Nantius House, and the Chalice now bears the name of this location. Continuing to safeguard the close secret of the Chalice existence, one by one the monks sadly died until only the prior remained. Just before his death, he handed the Powell family his most treasured possession, solemnly charging them to keep the Chalice safe. The prior added these words, "until the church claims its own." Of course, this saying has been a source of mystery, but now in these latter days we understand more of what it could mean. There will come a time when Christ will claim the chalice, and also when he will be persuaded to explain more fully the whole meaning of this process. The ongoing saga of the Nantius Cup is nothing less than outstanding. Exactly what the guardian of the chalice discovered, its miraculous healing virtues, is still generally unknown. Down through the centuries, scores of sufferers have claimed remarkable cures through direct contact or association with the chalice. My first encounter with this sacred vessel will always remain in my mind. As the present owner introduced the chalice, I was taken by surprise by its impoverished condition. Only approximately 1/3 of the original remains. Blackened with age, chipped and damaged, I questioned why it was in such a poor state. And I was to learn that during the previous 450 years, it had been handled by numerous persons urgently seeking its healing virtues. The Nantius Cup is made of olive wood and wych elm, and originally measured just approximately 12 centimetres by 12 centimetres. However, the severe usage of the centuries-old artefact has wrought great damage. Much of the cup has been nibbled off, or by the sick in their hope of a miracle cure. At one time, for protection, a silver rim was fixed around the cup. However, it was believed to have lost its healing power as a consequence. The cup now measured only 10 centimetres by 8.5 centimetres. It is held together by wire staples and fits comfortably in the palm of my hand. Today the cup is no longer at Nantios, but it is in a safekeeping elsewhere. I looked inside the aging box containing the chalice and saw many pieces of discoloured parchments and slips of paper. They were written testimonies from grateful sufferers who had received remarkable cures from making contact with the chalice. Yes, children and adults alike, suffering varied illnesses, had called at Nantios House, urgently requesting to either touch the sacred cup or keep it overnight in their own dwelling. A deposit of some value was expected from those who kept the chalice for a short time. The written testimonies appeared genuine and sincere and related to a range of cures from epilepsy, convulsions, arthritis, rheumatism, deafness, measles, bronchitis and tuberculosis. Here are but a few of the cup-lending testimonies taken from old receipts. On the 27th of November 1857, the cup was loaned this day to William Rowlands from Ystrad to Regaran for his sister, who subsequently was wholly cured. She left behind as her thank offering a coin value £1. In May 1858, the cup was lent to Evan Heavens of Pontefilia for his wife. She left her watch behind as a thank offering. On the 26th of July 1858, the cup was lent to James Morgan, who left his thanksgiving a sovereign. Setting aside the mysticism and fanaticism connected with the Holy Chalice, consider seriously its true purpose and meaning. Jesus clearly stated during the Last Supper the reason he introduced this unique vessel. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, "Drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many and for the remission of sins." Matthew 26 verses 27 and 28. The cup and its contents are symbolic of the New Covenant, the New Testament. This English word covenant suggests a mutual agreement and understanding, a blending and merging together, a sharing of common experience. Our Lord's sacrificial death made possible the impartation of God's divine life and nature to a sin-infected humanity. There is a spiritual mystery to the natural mind, but to the enlightened mind, the new covenant truth is an indescribable revelation. The Apostle Paul voiced this truth through his inspired epistles. He states how God no longer dwells in temples made with hands, but desires to reside in human temples dedicated to his glory. One of Paul's most notable statements must be Christ in you, the hope of glory.
Thank you, Peter.
Anyway, but to film it, you know, as it
So, Peter, would you like to
Could
step
you read it slowly?
as best you
read it
can?
Slowly and
I'll
we'll film you.
I'll take a picture of this. So we're in Pilton. We're at
Want me to read it out to you now?
St John Baptist Church in Pilton, aren't we today? Which is still the 27th, the 2nd,
You
2014.
could take one or two of the pictures while I'm still talking, couldn't you?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I can pick up your voice. Okay.
Can you see all right here, Peter? Can you see it? Can you see that
Yeah,
clearly?
okay, yeah.
I would say, could we lift it up and put it towards the light? So,
Oh, yeah. I thought we'd take it where the
and
sun...
you sit
oh,
down
yeah.
over there, yeah?
You could sit down.
Sure,
with
they
it.
won't mind that. We'll
That's
have
all it
to-
is, on a hook. There you are. You've got a bit of light there. Where do you think you'd like to do it? In front of that stained glass window? What do you think, Peter? Up here? You've got a lot of sunshine. You've got the light. That's it.
That's good. That's good.
That's better, isn't it? That's it. Because you've just got the wood behind. That's it. I'll leave you to...
Okay. Well, we'll listen to this first, and then I'll take a picture of it.
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay, let me just come. Okay. Right, take it. 2, 3.
The traditional history of the church here, which is a Baptist church at Pilton. Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy metal merchant, first traded here for lead and copper, and Priddy and green ore on the Mendips for tin from Cornwall. The two former he would ship from Pilton Harbour, which was situated just below the present manor house stands, and the way out to sea he would pass Glastonbury, then an island south west of Fill Bay. After our Lord's Ascension and Pentecost, Joseph would naturally return to preach the gospel to his old friends here at Glastonbury, and built a wattled church at each place. Here he built on the side of the hill above the harbour, where probably he baptised his first converts. When the Saxons came, they probably rebuilt this British church, of which we do not appear to have any remains. Indeed, it is very doubtful whether he would have anything left of the Saxon structure. There seems to be more advanced ideas in their turn had cleared the site. Of the Norman church we have the south door with its dog-tooth arch. Next came the early English, who cut back into the hill on the north side and threw out an aisle with a row of pillars. After that, the perpendicular period gave us present clerestory and chancel, and the Tudors added the chancel arch, probably to take thrust of the north wall, leaving the church very much as it is at this time. At one time there were galleries around the church, no doubt erected, when the large box pews of the wealthy filled the floor space. There was one over the south door, another along the north aisle and Lady Chapel, and one over the rood screen, but they were removed by Presbyterian Grey at the same time, most probably as the old pulpit was sold. Rood screen itself was disposed of, and first to Holt Farm, then to Glastonbury, and eventually to North Cheriton, probably for firewood. But fortunately it was bought by the rector, Mr. Gatehouse, who had it put into the church there, where it still remains to this day. There was also a doom picture over the chancel arch and frescoes on the north wall, but they were too badly defaced to be restored. Prebendary Bonnard had the heavy oak seats taken away and high dead pews with doors substituted. The latter was removed by Pembury Gray at the last restoration during 1841 to 1879, and the present ones constructed. Prebendary Bennett in 1899 obtained a resolution at a special meeting of the church people, afterwards confirmed by the vestry that all seats should be free and the church always open for private prayer and meditation. The light of welcome on the altar was given by friends at Chalice Well, Glastonbury, and the surprise choir was restored. It was also resolved that Holy Communion be celebrated twice every Sunday, 3 times on festivals and once on holy days. The beautiful old silver vessels for the Holy Communion consisted of flagon, about 1786, also a cover with the date of 1570, and this is confirmed by the paten, as no doubt, but appears to be about the same age as the chalice. Round the border is engraved a parade. All the vessels have been at some time partly gilded. Owing to the diminutive of the population of the parish, several of the seats in the church became superfluous. Those in front of the entrance of the Ladies' Chapel had been removed. An old altar table, for some time used in the vestry, has been restored to its original use. And very interesting piece of tapestry of the late 15th or early 16th century, originally a cope, has been beautifully restored by the sisters of St Mary's Wantage and hung in a glass case on the north wall. A more ancient piece of tapestry will, it is hoped, be also restored and displayed in the church. That's a traditional history of the Pilton Church, now called, of course, the Pilton Baptist Church. So, we have this remarkable connection, once again, between the harbour at Pilton and also, of course, reference to Joseph of Arimathea and those who in those early centuries were very much active in keeping the Pilton Church alive, beautiful and precious to behold. Pilton was once a harbour to which merchants from all over the known world came to fetch seed from the Mendip traditional claims that Joseph of Arimathea came here on his way to Glastonbury and built a small mud and wattled church close to the water's edge where baptisms might be taking place. Another legend claims that he brought the Christ child with him, and together they walked this very patch of ground, and did those feet in ancient times walk upon England's mountain green. The Norman doorway through which you entered is part of this said church, which replaced the original wattle buildings. This church was contained within the area bounded by the chancel arch in the west and the vestry arch to the east. The church was extended in 1150 when the Gothic arching was built. These arches are more among the earliest Gothic arches in the country, predating those in the choir of Wells Cathedral. The north wall of the Norman church was removed, and the present Norman aisles added after digging into the hillside. Built once right without foundation, the subsequent lean of the spread were then counted in on the part of the building of the chancel within. This unusual stone that you now see comprises of two stones. The lower stone was the original marker stone that depicted the most eastern stretch of the 120 hides that were bequeathed by the local king to cover the ground that was allocated to Joseph and his party. But it used to lie somewhere over beyond the trees here. But when they did a cleaning act, they found it. But because it was so small, they decided to put another stone on the top of it, so that it would never be forgotten. And that's where it is to this day.
Is there any markings on it, Peter?
Now, there was a time, I remember cleaning this stone a little, the bottom section anyway.
What a peculiar thing. What a peculiar kind of thing.
Yeah. But it was done for a purpose, to make sure that it never got lost, if you know what I mean. I discovered this many years ago, and made inquiries about it. I'm not so sure whether this is a steel, iron. Could be a piece of iron, couldn't it? Set into the stone, so it would never be removed. It was kept away from all the other.
Just to repeat, then you believe, or this was laden somewhere else. This was actually in the ground somewhere else.
No, this was somewhere else.
Yeah.
The stone itself, I was introduced to the stone, the bottom section of the stone. I was introduced to it, and then it disappeared, and I wondered where on earth it had gone to. It had been removed from where it was in that section, because that used to be the harbour area down there, where the ships came in. I think if we walk down here, you'll see this must.
Because it does say in the book that we've just saw, the little bit of information that's provided there, that this is the manor house. Is it the manor house?
Well, I think this was
to the side of the manor house would have been through here.
But the water ran through there.
That's right, yeah.
Is that where the river runs now?
It appeared to be, yeah.
Yes, that's right, yeah. probably about 40 or 50 years ago. When I first came, that stone was not there at that time. It was down here, and all this vegetation.
Yep.
But they lifted it out and put it there. But the top stone, I was given to understand by the local folk who were able to tell me some details about it. I was given to understand that the top bit of stone that was set was also set into the lower bit of stone, and it was something to do with a child who had died.
Okay, yeah.
It was a little one that had passed away, yeah.
All these secrets tucked away, isn't it? And of course, this is the biggest one here that will tell us something. It's the yew tree.
Yeah, that's been there some years.
I mean, yew trees don't spring up overnight, do they?
No, they don't, no.
Of course, there is that.
It's probably 500 years of tree there, I would say, anyway, for a guess.
Well, anyway, let's get down to Glastonbury if we can, whilst we've got a little bit more light.
The tidal wave would come in and was part of the harbour. And the tidal wave would come in and the ships would come in and fetch the
So that's around the back here, isn't it?
Yes,
going downhill.
Down there.
Yeah?
Definitely, yeah. But it's, they landscaped it and goodness knows what. That's why it's like this now. It's been modernised in a way, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But it served its purpose, but some of these stones are too old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're going back 300, 400 years. That looks as though it's been buried into the ground when it's all been reshaped, doesn't it?
So let's, if we've got the light with us, let's go back to Glastonbury and Wiriel Hill.
And
Wiriel Hill.
yeah, let's go.
And see how the water lies. Which, yeah. Careful going down here, Peter.
You can hear that music.
That's amazing, really.
I think that's it there. Look.
I can hear a... Oh yes, it opens up down there, doesn't it? Is it... I can hear a lot more water down there. Well, that's probably a lake, I think, on a hill.
That's the river.
You can see how marshy it is here.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of water that's part of it, or just on the grass. I'm not sure. It's not dried up.
Come on, then, let's catch that sun that's coming in from the west. You just said something, Peter, about the building there being built where it's built.
Yes. Before the present church building as we now see it appeared, this was a wattle church.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a church that married up to the wattle church that we have over at Glastonbury. They were a couple really, and they were made of wattle. And our wattle comprised of
lime, stone,
of timber, and then it was plastered uniquely, and so on. And then eventually it was taken down, and then the building that you now see was erected.
It's a car.
Wonderful, really.
Yeah.
Wonderful, isn't it? Really?
It is. What a beautiful.
Look at the primroses down there.
Yeah. This is England at its best, isn't it? Or near a month away, and that'd be England at its best.
Aye, yes.
There's the catkins, snowdrops over there.
That's right. Beautiful.
I can see a few bluebells. That's a bit early.
Do you know what? I've never really been around there. I'd love to go sometime. We just have to come in summer.
We will.
And do a very special view of it.